Hey everybody, my name is Nozibele Kamganamayaba. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I promise you guys that I'm going to do this video. So everyone knows we are busy struggling with Covid-19, and there's been a lot of discussions surrounding the vaccines. A lot of it for it and a lot of it against it. There's a lot of information that is out there, but not a lot of information is out there, if you get what I mean. There's a lot of people that are confused whether or not to take the vaccine. Now, I'm going to concentrate this video particularly for people that are living with HIV. There's a lot of people that reached out to me. They're still a bit confused whether they should take the vaccine or not. Is it safe? And that is why I promised you that I am going to bring a doctor friend of mine to break everything down. He's going to answer some of your questions. Now, very importantly, before we start, guys, this is not a video for or against vaccines. So before anyone comes at me, don't say Unos is encouraging vaccines, Unos is discouraging vaccines. No. This is pure for information sharing, and then someone is going to make that decision on their own. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Dr. Tebelele. But then others know him as Dr. Wempempe. Welcome to my channel.
Thank you, Noze, and thank you for the invite, and I'm very glad and honored to be part of the channel. I've seen you at a distance, making all the waves and noise, the right noises.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to be part of it now.
Thank you.
Briefly, I'm Dr. Tebelele, CEO of Pile Communications. That's my talking giant. That's my vehicle that I use to do everything outside being at the practice. That's a hobby for me.
Okay.
I'm honored to be part of here, from the page and Facebook, and also the little bit that I do on the YouTube channel. You are my principal when it comes to that, and I hope I'll be able to answer your viewers and also you on every concern and to share information. My passion is to educate, especially the people who send us to school, in the simplest of languages.
Please.
We speak science in simplified form and in bits and pieces so people to understand, and then they take decisions.
I love that. Simplified definitions, explanations, so that at the end of the day, Doc, we make those decisions on our own. Doc, it's in a background, what is your background? Medically, because I just don't want to say, he's a doctor, but everyone is like, but then, PhD. He's the one who was the part of the team. What is your medical background?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I qualified as a medical doctor at WSU, the former University of Transkei, in 1997 with a degree in Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Science. And then after that, I did my internship at Livingston Hospital, 1998. Then I did community service at Frontier and Mlamli Hospital. Then after that, 99, I finished that. 2000, I went private.
Okay.
I've got a private practice in KwaDuesi. And then I did my diploma in HIV management with the Colleges of Medicine of South Africa. So I'm a member of the SA HIV Clinician Society. I'm passionate about HIV and everything around it. And then I did a certificate in business management with the Manchester Business School. I was trying to prompt myself or prepare myself for MBA. Then I did my master's in business administration with the University of Liverpool.
Wow.
I got that on merit. And then immediately I finished my MBA. I did life coaching. So I've got a certificate in life coaching. So I'm balancing what I do in family medicine and also issues of life.
Absolutely.
That's what gets me talking.
So, Doc, we have been grappling with the COVID-19 in South Africa in particular since last year. And then there's now the availability of vaccines. Let's start with that. What are the intentions of vaccine? Why did we create vaccines? What are they there to do?
Everybody is made of what is called immune system. That is built in as soldiers that are meant to attack any foreign bug that gets into you, be it a virus, be it a fungus, be it a bacteria, and so on. So that is why a person can be able to have flu, and then within a few days, without taking any treatment, that flu would be able to disappear. It's because of the immune system. We call that innate immune system. That is built-in immune system. That is what we are created with. is part of your red blood cells.
Yeah.
And then when you get attacked by whatever organism that is attacking you, the body will use some of these cells to destroy the bug. There are certain type of cells, we call them natural killer cells. There are some things we call phagocytes, which are going to destroy the organism. And then there are cells that are going to be formed that will memorize the kind of bug that attacked you. So that when you meet it in future, the body will recognize it immediately through antibodies that will actually destroy it. So you've got memory cells and then you've got antibodies. So when you vaccinate someone, you provoke the body with a bug. For example, if you are vaccinating someone against polio, you use a deactivated polio virus. It's an inactivated virus that is meant to cheat your body and pretend that you've got the polio infection, so that your body will get used and memorize the polio virus, so that when you meet a live polio virus in future, you are able to squash it immediately because your body has memorized it and has got antibodies. So a vaccine is meant to provoke your body with a piece of the virus or with an attenuated virus, that is a virus that is inactivated, so that when you meet the actual virus in future, for example the COVID virus in future, your body immediately recognizes it and starts fighting. So you must fight immediately so that the infection doesn't get worse. And also the body has memorized it so that speedy recognition of the enemy.
Okay.
And it's an enemy that I met previously.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the essence of vaccination.
Here's the thing now. Usually vaccines take a long time, right? For example, HIV vaccine, we still don't have it years later, right? I think there was an argument around if vaccine trials usually take more than 7 years. In this case, COVID only, we were only introduced to it late 2019, in China. But already we have a vaccine. What is your opinion in terms of some of the hesitancy around, but guys, so quick, HIV, like many years, why this one, quicker though? That's the way the mistrust is at. What is your opinion in terms of that?
Thank you, Nozi. That's a very nice and critical question. You see, the beauty of science is that everything follows certain channels and certain protocols, and the language you speak in science is international. There is no South African science and Indian science and whatever. So that's number one. So whoever develops a vaccine, there is a certain channel and protocol that is followed. Vaccines go through phases. We've got phase 1, we've got phase 2, we've got phase 3. Firstly, you need to identify the vaccine from wherever you're going to get it, from animal or from wherever, then you extract it. And then you need to test it in animals first for safety and efficacy. Does it work? Is it safe in animals? We call that phase 1 trial. Then, if you are happy with the first phase, that is phase 1 with animals, you proceed to a small group of people. You call that a phase 2 trial. Then it means you have passed the animals, then small group of people, say 10 people, between 10 and 100 people. Then you try it for safety in human beings. Is it safe in human beings, or does it cause people to die, or it causes severe side effects? That is why you'll hear sometimes that a trial was stopped at phase 2 because it wasn't safe, or it caused serious complications, or it killed a lot of people. Then once you pass phase 2, that is a small group of people, you go to phase 3, that is a huge or a bigger group of people. Then there you are going to involve people with from various ages or with certain comorbidities, pregnant or not pregnant, a small sample depending on the nature of the study, but you declare everything in terms of the setup of the trial. So that when you report now, you say this vaccine has been through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That is phase 3, it means there's volumes of people who have been put through the trial in order to answer safety and efficacy of the vaccine. So the vaccine, the nice thing about the COVID vaccine is that the whole world was actually in trouble. And even the countries that are well resourced in terms of finances. So it was a collective effort. Everyone saw it as a crisis that has got a potential of destroying human species. So that is why it has moved very quicker. Maybe the world didn't move at the same pace with HIV. Just like when you look at TB, the developments on TB are not as pacey as what has happened to COVID. Which
Because
is something,
maybe it's more concentrated with regions.
Yes, exactly.
And particularly regions that are under-resourced.
Thank you.
Okay.
Those are politics.
That's fair
Those
enough.
are politics of TB. If TB was to create the same havoc that COVID has created, then the speed of research and development was actually move at the same pace as it has done with COVID.
Doc, let me ask now. So the vaccine was developed, but then over time, it actually was found out that, no man, I'm not sure I'm going to use the correct medical terminology. It was mutating itself, Yaman. So the vaccine, the virus that we were introduced to in 2019 is not the virus that we're dealing with now, like today, Yaman. There's Delta, variant. There's more that are now being introduced. That's another argument, Ibana. I wonder, the vaccine that was introduced, Yabona, earlier this year, will it still be helpful, Yabona, in terms of still fighting off the much stronger variant that are now coming up?
Thank you so much. Firstly, let me tackle one thing before I answer your question. The way the vaccine has been developed, the COVID vaccine, didn't follow the traditional way of developing vaccine of using a live attenuated virus. That is a virus that has been paralyzed and so on. There's a lot of engineering that has been involved. You remember, the COVID-19 virus has got something like cox or spikes outside. Okay. So one of the vaccines only takes a piece of that, because all we need, we call that an antigen. That is a foreign protein that we're going to introduce on somebody. Then they use technology to take that piece and introduce it in your body in order to provoke your body to produce antibodies. So a lot of people were happy with that, because that's a modern way of some method uses a virus. We call it an adenovirus, which is not dangerous in human beings, taken from monkeys. They use that adenovirus to carry a piece of the COVID-19 virus into some bodies through the injection, so that it can provoke the bodies an antigen. Then we start producing antibodies against the foreign protein. So that is why the process was quicker. There's a lot of technology involved and a lot of newer methods of developing a vaccine, unlike the traditional approach of using a live attenuated virus, which some scientists could have an issue, but that should be left at the level of scientists to debate.
Yes.
The problem with viruses, we do not have drugs that directly kill viruses, like bacteria. If you get infected with bacteria like TB, pneumonia, and so on, when we give you an antibiotic for pneumonia, we are directly killing the cause of the pneumonia. Then your lung will get to heal. But with viruses, it's quite tricky, because we don't have drugs that directly kill the virus, be it swine flu, be it polio, be it measles, and everything. Hence, vaccines become very critical as part of solution in containing the disease. COVID-19 mutates. When we say it mutates, it means inside the virus, you've got genes. Genes are made up of letters A, C, T, G, and they are lined up in a certain format, so that you are able to tell this is a polio virus based on how the letters are following each other. This is an HIV one. This is a polio one. Based on the genetic material, that's like human beings, I'm able to tell who's Kuralo, who's Nozilo, who's Teshilo, based on each genetic lineup. So what happens? Viruses are produced at a very quick speed in a day. For example, with HIV, you can produce billions of HIV viruses just in one day if you miss your treatment. So because of the speed of producing viruses in a day, they are prone to make errors in terms of the sequence of the letters in their genes. So once you mess up with those letters, that is what is called a mutation.
Okay.
So they are able to escape just because a certain letter has been swapped. Instead, where you are expecting a letter A, you find that there's a letter G. So it means it's the same nose. Instead of having your eyebrows slanting to the left, they are slanting to the right. Then you are able to get through the gate. And then you create the same havoc inside. So nothing much has changed. It's just a little bit. That is what is called mutation.
Okay.
So even if the vaccines are developed based on the original 2019 virus, it's not the whole virus that has changed, it's just a little swap. So it's unlikely that a vaccine wouldn't work totally.
Okay.
Hence we talk efficacy, and
Okay.
it comes in percentages. We find that this vaccine is 94% effective and this one is 64% effective.
Okay.
So
Okay.
based on the mutations and the variants, we've got the Delta variant, we've got the Beta variant, and the Lambda, and so on. They will continue to come. Hence, the importance of vaccination becomes critical, or maybe a lot of us would get infected so that we produce antibodies and then we're able to fight back. Otherwise, there is nothing currently that is able to kill a virus directly, which is not new. It's not a new concept.
Has there been people dying after they've received the vaccine? Or has there been people dying because of the vaccine? And why is that?
Thank you so much. That's a very important question, which will pose challenges in terms of answering it accurately, because we don't have post-mortem of everybody. But looking at the numbers of people who have died from COVID, from the first wave, the second wave, and currently the third wave, in any medicine, any kind of drug that we introduce, you look at what is called benefits against the risk.
Okay.
Just look at penicillin. There are people who are allergic to penicillin, but we never stopped using penicillin because of people having anaphylactic shock or people collapsing because of using penicillin. But you look at the majority of people, there's more benefit when you weigh the risk. But looking at the COVID vaccination, it is not done in dark corners. It is done in certain centers where there are doctors in order to take care of all the expected repercussions. And people are warned and given forms to sign as consent so that there is follow-up and tracking of whatever complications that may happen due to the vaccine. Currently, if you look at SAPRA report, that is the regulatory authority of the vaccination, there are currently about 44 cases that have actually been studied due to side effects or what were attributed to be side effects of the vaccine. That is, people who developed unexpected or expected complications, be it maybe paralyzation of the body or sudden death and whatever. Out of those, only 4 have been confirmed to be likely to be from the vaccine.
Okay.
So the other 40, so it is something that is actually developing. And when there is an alarm or a concern that the vaccine is causing more deaths, that is what usually leads to stopping of any vaccine, because it proves to be a lot riskier than being beneficial. So far, the reason we're continuing with the vaccination is because the benefit far outweighs the risk. But when you look at some of the causes, or what are called causes associated with the vaccine, there's issue of clotting, people developing strokes and so on, which is the same complication that develops from COVID. A lot of COVID people will develop damages of blood vessels and something called clotting, which is disseminated intravascular coagulation, which is tendency of blood to clot. That's from the COVID-19. And what is actually knocking us now is that we are pushing a lot of vaccination, and we're actually there's third wave. So if you get COVID today, maybe your date is due for vaccination tomorrow. There's a risk that I could vaccinate you and you're actually already incubating the virus. It would be better if we had pushed in that there was a 3 months where there was a clear break from COVID. If we had pushed the volume of vaccination then there would be less confusion, so that we're able to sift between complications of the vaccine, or people who are already harboring the virus and then they got the jab. So that is where the problem lies. So that is why we are able to pick up people after vaccination, 2-3 days after vaccination, find that the person has got symptoms of COVID, which is definitely not from the vaccine, but it's people who got the jab while actually harboring the infection. There are complications, but it will be very difficult to quantify them. But when there are serious complications like Guillain-Barré syndrome, sudden deaths and so on, then SAPRA will halt the program.
Okay. Doc, let's talk about underlying conditions. There's been issues of diabetes being an issue when you have COVID. okay, there was one point where someone was like, if you're overweight, then you might have a problem in recovering from a COVID. Yeah, one. Is HIV, obviously as someone who's living with HIV, but also as an advocate of people living with HIV, is HIV also a cause of concern for people, in a case where they contract or they get infected with the COVID? The reason why I'm asking this is because I've read a few reports, and there was only one case of, I think, a 38-year-old woman that had gotten infected with COVID. Kutwa, it mutated itself more than, I think, 40 times inside her body. However, they also reported that the reason why she was a severe and a special case was because she was not on treatment. She was not taking ARVs. So HIV, could it be also one of those like alarming underlying conditions when it comes to their COVID?
Firstly, let me thank you so much for the advocacy that you are doing in the field of HIV. As an HIV clinician, you are doing a lot of impact, and you are encouraging a lot of people, and you are actually unpacking a lot of questions that are very relevant to our people and in the language that they understand. Thank you for that.
Thank you,
it's like you have sacrificed yourself for the benefit of others. Well done on that.
Thank you,
when you look at COVID, and comorbidities, that is in people who've got pre-existing medical conditions, diabetes becomes very problematic. I speak to, there's a program we're running on diabetes. I was tackling a topic there called diabetes and COVID-19, the missing link. People who've got pre-diabetes, that is people who have not been diagnosed with diabetes, when they get COVID infected, that diabetes becomes established. They become established diabetes because the sugar will start fluctuating and jumping up and down. Then they need serious management. People who already had diabetes and they were on treatment, they will need adjustment of treatment once they get COVID, because COVID causes expression of receptors. That is, it's a lock and key mechanism in the pancreas. Pancreas is responsible for secreting insulin, which is the one that is taking a lot of sugar to the rest of your tissues. So your pancreas becomes malfunctional. So diabetes becomes very problematic when you get infected with COVID. Coupled with that, as part of management of COVID, there's use of steroids like dexamethasone, prednisone, and so on in doses that doctors calculate. Those cause insulin resistance also, so they cause the sugar to be less controlled. The use of steroids is counterproductive in terms of sugar control, so you need to definitely titrate your management of diabetes. That is why COVID-19 becomes sticky or a burning issue when you are dealing with diabetes or pre-diabetes. Talking about the first one is hypertension. People who are hypertensive tend to have problems because there's damage to blood vessels, like I said, and clotting. Hypertension becomes very problematic. A lot of people are likely to end up in hospital, and the outcomes, that is whether people are going to come out of hospital or not, when they've got hypertension, lots of those people tend to have complications, and then diabetes would come at number 2. And then other conditions like age. People who are more than 65, they are likely to struggle because the immune system is close to that of kids. It's quite low. They can't fight back a lot, and they tend to have complications. Then, sticking to HIV, I've been asked this question a lot, especially when this thing was new. People with HIV, they thought maybe they should be treated special. There's nothing special about HIV.
I was even, listen.
There's nothing special about HIV.
Talking about special, I was like,
about COVID.
immune system choosing we're very fragile.
No, I debusted that myth immediately.
Okay.
Your responsibility, Nozi, is to stick to your ARVs.
Okay.
To make sure that virus is suppressed. If virus is ignorezilekile, you have achieved what is called undetectable viral load. That is, the HIV science is quite simple. You get a diagnosis, all you need to do is to stick to your ARVs, keep the virus suppressed, because you are avoiding HIV complications. You don't want HIV to complicate. HIV complications means allowing HIV to progress, destroying your immune system until it leads to AIDS. You know the end result is AIDS. Suppress viral load, you behave like a normal person, just like you, just like how you are.
Correct.
You are beautiful and healthy, you can run any marathon, you can do anything. So HIV is not special, you just need to stick to your treatment so that virus is suppressed, your CD4 count remains higher.
So when it comes to the vaccine, doc, I'm just like basically like any other person.
You are just like any other person.
Okay.
Unless you've got other conditions like clotting diseases and whatever, then you would be told that this one is risky. Otherwise, when it comes to pure HIV, as a clinician, there's nothing stopping you from getting the vaccine. There is nothing special that needs to be done. That no, we need to prepare because we need to
Hayi bese ngisisho doc ndithi bana kaloku bethu nathina vulnerable yabona sikla group vulnerable with underlying issues, pre-existing issues, conditions, so that's why we have to be treated as such along with the plus 65-year-olds.
No, HIV is the science of HIV is been quite simple.
Okay.
You are dealing with two scales there.
Okay.
CD4 count versus viral load. So the virus was high before you started treatment, so it was winning the fight. Your CD4 count was low or battling. Then we reverse the scales, we put you on ARVs, we apply brakes on the virus, we don't kill the virus, we just hold the virus so that it's not able to produce other viruses. That is what we do. Then once we do that, viruses die within 3 days, then we achieve a suppressive viral load, then your CD4 count will slowly climb. Then you just behave or live your life just like any other person because you are able to fight diseases just like anybody.
I think I know the question I'm going to ask. For someone who's not yet, maybe they just found out about their HIV status a couple of days ago. So doc, obviously of starting your ARVs, I mean, I was diagnosed at a time where it wasn't a must because the World Health Organization only instilled your medication, I think about 2016 in South Africa. So I only started 2017 when I had been diagnosed 2013. Yeah, so it delay to some people in their study ARVs. Yeah, for someone now who has just been newly diagnosed with HIV, who connect COVID on the side. So they haven't started their ARVs. Can they still go ahead and take a vaccine? Yeah, one of the COVID-19 vaccine, while they still have not taken ARVs.
That's a very nice question. I would prefer to do baselines on that person.
Okay.
Because we wouldn't like to subject someone to any form of vaccination if the CD4 count is low. Because when you are introducing a vaccine to somebody, you are provoking the body. You are introducing the foreign bug, so that the body must actually fight back and then form antibodies and memorize the bug. So if the immune system is low, say someone has got a CD4 count less than 200, and then you are introducing a vaccine, that can create more problems. So it's good to do baselines, viral load, CD4 count, and so on, and then you advise better.
Okay.
But if the CD4 count is stable, if in a newly diagnosed HIV person, if you are happy with the CD4 count, I would still encourage them to go for vaccination.
And pregnant ladies, when it comes to vaccine?
Pregnant ladies, that is something that needs to be weighed. The Department of Health has issued a letter that breastfeeding and pregnant people can go for vaccination. But my advice is that each person should be assessed by the doctor and get a recommendation from your own doctor, because if I say to
What dog?
you could be dealing with something more than the pregnancy. Get your individual advice, your specific advice, no blanket approach, and then you get a recommendation, you go, or you are advised against if you are pregnant.
People have been having side effects, and I've been one person that always advocates, even when it comes with my experience of ARVs. How I have responded to ARVs is totally different from how others have responded to ARVs. I have not lost weight, I wish I had. I've never had any severe side effects, only probably for the first week or so, when obviously I'm introducing something foreign once again in my body. So my body was getting used to the ARVs. I'll have just a slight headache here and there, nausea, but after a week, I was perfectly fine. I've been on ARVs since 2017. Yeah, but given that side effects vary from one person to the next, when it comes to your vaccine, as an HIV positive person, I'm not going to have any severe side effects when it comes to the vaccine.
Thank you so much. When it comes to issue of side effects, people are different, and people handle different products differently. And that's why I said there are people who are allergic to penicillin. Some people can stand penicillin without any issues. So there's no one who can predict. But in terms of gross risk factors, like tendency to clot and so on, those are things that we can actually say, you can't vaccinate. If there's any risk, expect to have a little bit of headache.
Okay.
If you had symptoms of COVID, some of the COVID symptoms will actually appear, but in a mild format.
Okay.
Rikas and children may feel a little bit cold and a little bit hot. You can have a little bit of headache. You can have muscle pains here and there. Of course, there will be pain on the injection site.
Okay.
That is something that is expected, which is not a very serious or terrible side effect. It's something you expect. But being a doctor and having worked with so many nurses, people who know the side effects of any drug, they tend to have the side effects.
Okay.
Maybe psychological or knowing them.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you know more of the side effects, the tendency is that lots of nurses and doctors who have taken post-exposure prophylaxis from needle pricks and so on, they tend to have a lot of side effects because they know the side effects. I can tell you.
Masihleli abasobabini akho bantu bahleleyo on the behind the scenes. Talking about psychological side effects. There was this other person I know, I'm not going to mention any names. They went for their vaccine, so they came back. I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling well. Did he done? I don't know. Ever since I went for the vaccine, I don't feel myself. Did you school? I don't even know what happened 2 weeks back. Now someone is very normal. They're going to the gym. They're doing all sorts of things that they did before. So I'm going back to those psychological side effects. But given also that there's been a lot of noise, so I think it's understandable as well that there's a lot of fear, and hence I wanted to do this video. There's now talks of the vaccine, being mandatory. People are going to be forced, to take the vaccine. It's no longer going to be a choice. When you enter work, you have to produce a card that you have been vaccinated when you travel. In all spheres of life, this is now going to be something that's mandatory, that you have to take the vaccine. I would love to hear your thoughts in terms of, also considering the kind of country that we are. We're born as a result of everyone has a choice, has a freedom of choice, whether they want something or not. So given that, what is your opinion of making the vaccine mandatory? People actually forced to take the vaccine.
Before I go to the issue of force, the concept of vaccination, for any vaccine to work well, you need to have the majority of the population taking it. That is how we defeated smallpox. That is how we defeated polio. That is how we defeated measles, to contain them. We need to have the majority, more than 70% of the population should be vaccinated for you to be talking sense. I think the problem has been communication on the side of government.
Okay.
Without making it mandatory or forcing people, but giving people information as to how vaccines work and why there's a need for the majority of people to be vaccinated. For example, if you are 7 in your family and only 2 people are vaccinated, it means the 5 people that remain unvaccinated or have not had the infection, they remain a fertile ground for whatever disease to actually continue spreading. So you cannot force people to vaccinate, but give people information so that it is within them to know that it is a need to actually vaccinate. There are cultural beliefs, there are religious beliefs, there are people who, in fact, even in HIV, we've got what is called HIV dissidents. People who've got scientific theories and arguments against use of ARVs and the fact that whether the virus exists or not. So the same thing goes with any new illness. There will always be groups of people with certain kind of information, but the government needed to actually dissipate information in simplified format so that people understand. Not force people to vaccinate, but make people recognize that there is a need. The only way out of this thing is for people to have antibodies, because we don't have anything that will ever kill the virus. The solution out of this thing, others will have wave 4, wave 5, wave 6, and wave 7, for as long as we do not have 70% of the people displaying antibodies or fighting ability against the virus. But you cannot force people. The Bill of Rights and there's Constitution and so on. We don't want to go there. It's not supposed to be a fighting death. if information was communicated properly.
Okay, Doc. That's fair enough. I'm on social media, and there's a lot of theories regarding a vaccine. One, there's a person that posted back, hey, ever since the vaccine, my partner has been having trouble with his erection. Yabon? As someone who specializes in sexual education, and I've been also granted the permission you get to also share this, but apparently also in our household, a person got vaccinated, but then hey, every morning, it does the opposite, lady.
That's very nice. Let me even share my own experience. A day or two after the vaccination, we've got doctors group. We were vaccinated as a group of doctors. Then we were sharing what is happening in the following morning. And then I just threw this thing in. Hey guys, I've got spontaneous erections suddenly. I don't know what's happening. And then one of my colleagues also shared the same. Hey, I thought I was the only one, and so on. So, but we got J&J. I don't know whether there's something relating to the vaccine or it was just something that was just random. But I shared with the group, and there is even another third doctor who's based in Jeffreys Bay who shared a similar concept in terms of getting more spontaneous erections after the vaccination. But that is something that maybe if there's volumes of people raising that, the beauty of science is that is followed up to see if there's any impact of the J&J vaccine in terms of erections, spontaneous erections, and so on.
Okay.
The second arm of the question, Pfizer is a company that produced Viagra, which is something we use for erections. So the fact that it's the same household, there's Pfizer vaccine, which is given in 2 jabs.
Yes.
So people psychologically, they've got that hope, oh, this is the company that produced this thing.
Okay.
So they get pumped up and they get erections out of the psyche behind hope that Pfizer produces this blue pill.
It's that psychological thing again.
Yes.
Okay.
That is what I think. And then when it comes to loss of interest or poor erections and so on, which is something you saw on Twitter, that could be someone who already had a problem.
Okay.
Once you get erectile issues, that is you lose interest, which is libido. We need to search into about, is it the hormone that is responsible, or is it a relationship problem, or are there any biological issues that can explain the loss of erection? Erectile dysfunction is something we take very, very seriously because diabetes can actually manifest. You can diagnose a person as diabetic first time just based on loss of erection. And psychological issues, stress, depression, conflict in relationship, they can actually lead to drop. And the third or fourth thing is that impembe is quite sensitive. It's quite sensitive to anything. For example, if we're having sex and then someone just goes across that window, this thing will actually go down immediately. So it's control is mainly from your head. Or if maybe some death strikes you, then this thing will go down. Or if you simply pinch a person, this thing will go down. So impembe is very, very sensitive. So the loss of erection or loss of interest I can't associate it with the vaccine as such. But if it happens in a significant group of people, then science would actually take and look after that.
So there hasn't been one of the main side effects or a lot of people coming up with it?
Not at all.
Okay.
Actually, some people are just being silly and being naughty on social media when it comes to these erections. And
yes.
But the fact that we are sharing it from home is very interesting. And the fact that I'm telling you that me and other 2 colleagues had a similar experience, but we did get J&J. But I don't know, I can't relate it to the vaccine, but it was immediately a day or 2 after the vaccination. So it was a nice debate to have.
Okay, I'm sure. And this is what I actually wanted out of this video. So guys, once again, information sharing, but at the end of the day, you make the decision. A lot of information is available, but I really hope that this has helped you kind of swift through, what is true, what is not true. Because social media is full of everything in between, okay? So once again, Doc, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye.